Hello, people of the world. It's me, Lumbersnack, bringing you a video today to discuss the unjust slaying of Renee Good by an ICE officer who called her a fucking bitch before shooting her 3 times as she tried driving away. You know why she tried driving away? Because she's a mother who just dropped her kid off from school, whose wife may or may not have been egging on the ICE officers, letting them know that they were U.S. citizens, and thus ICE had no legal reason to do what they did at all. It's just a bunch of weak-willed, cowardly peons who just want power by proxy, whose lives are so meaningless and whose morals are so void that they will willingly rip apart families and, I'd say kill the foreigner, which, is pretty anti-Jesus teachings, might I add, because it's literally about how you treat the foreigners, how you will be judged, and trust me, people are being judged. I truly believe that the reaction from people, this horrible, vicious, psychotic attack of a little douchebag, a feat, needs power, needs control, who's supposed to be a trained officer of the law. A trained officer of the law who is not supposed to shoot at people for escaping. That's when you look at the license plate and track it like someone who's not a loser, idiot, coward. Now I have to think about my words as I say them, because I want each one, if they fall on ears that are offended by this kind of talk, to cut deep into their soul, to hopefully bring some morals about themselves. Do you remember how whiny the loser cuck-servatives were when Charlie Kirk, who's straight up a racist, and it's been long enough, his wife's moved on, clearly, took all the money, ran Turning Point. Why are all of our public officials running podcasts and on podcasts? Why does our FBI director, Kash Patel, who looks like he's coked out of his mind 24/7, why is any sort of FBI director on a fucking podcast? Why is anybody who could have our nation's secrets, who's supposed to be, actively investigating crap, be on podcasts? That should be like against the job description. That shouldn't be something allowed. That's how you give up secrets to foreign agencies. I don't know how people have gotten so lost in their ways, so corrupt in their morals. They're so... Here's the thing about Zoroastrianism and Ahura Mazda, and something I believe with this thing, and it's a Punnett square. You've got Enki and Anu. You've got the one of the mind, the one who created the cosmos, everything, and you've got his reflection on this earth that everybody has access to. Like, do you guys not realize that? Do you guys not realize that you have access to this dude if you truly believe? This thing right here, you have access to it. This absolute power from God, if you trust and believe, and you're able to realize when a line has been crossed, when a moral line has been crossed. When we have leaders, we have publicly elected officials who are funded by a religious group when our First Amendment of America that the loser MAGAs have seemed to forgotten is that Congress shall make no effort to establish a national religion of America. You know why? Because we're a nation founded by Freemasons, deists. Freemasons weren't part of the Catholic Church. They were the people who built the cathedrals. The creators who God bestowed sacred knowledge upon, because God, the creator, always bestows knowledge to those that create. And, dude, if you watch that video of the freaking thing, there's no way she's a deranged leftist who's running straight into this dude. The physics don't allow it, and anyone who believes that would have turned their neighbor in during the Holocaust. Would have said people shouldn't have been Christian during the Bolshevik Revolution, when about 30 million Christians were murdered by the Bolsheviks. You want to know exactly why Hitler did what he did? That's one of the reasons. Flat out. Anybody who just thinks otherwise is a denier of the Holocaust. And let me speak about Holocaust denial real quick, because it's actively pushed. I believe the original statistic was 3 million Jews, 2 million non-Jews. Eventually that got combined to 5 million Jews. And then from that point, there had to be more Jews that were axed because of their differences. And why is it important to separate these people because of their differences? Why can't we recognize the fact that it's just somebody with psycho mental problems wanting to kill people that they don't understand? That's exactly what's going on in America. That's exactly what happened during Nazi Germany. That's exactly what happened during the Confederacy. That's exactly what happened during the freaking founding of the United States of America. And all of them have in common a similar point of Uranus, which is a gift from God to show us the time passing and that we need to recognize when history repeats itself and to be smart enough to separate ourselves from the wickedness of history. Conservatives in America are so worried about losing their Christianity, which isn't under attack. You know, nobody's getting pissed off at you because you think Jesus was a good dude. But if you want to know the truth, if you think Jesus is God, you've sorely misunderstood the Bible. You've sorely misunderstood everything. And that's the problem with modern Christianity. That's the problem with this conservative establishment led by that orange nutsack and his little whipping boy, J.D. Vance, and his little Nazi glass jaw, fat-lipped loser Stephen Miller. Listen, it's time. This is the sign, this is the calling, this is the time for America to wake up and realize that if the West of America doesn't split from the East, that loser dictator's decisions in Venezuela, that loser dictator's decisions with Greenland, that loser dictator's decisions with Nigeria, and his liberal, weak spending towards Israel. Like, you conservatives want to act like you're high and mighty. Do you realize how liberal your cuck leader is with the money when it comes to foreign aids that might bend to give him the time of day? He is literally, here's the secret in numerology. Here's the secret in numerology. Numbers exist. Patterns repeat themselves. It's something that happens from the beginning all the way to the end and repeats itself in the wheel of Genesis. And people don't realize that. People don't understand what's going in religion and spirituality. And they just think that they do. It's the lost leading the blind. It really is in this society. But listen, that dictator that's trying for a third term, that his whole freaking crony group just worships and idolizes and deifies, is trying to get a third term, and his ICE Gestapo force is killing more and more American citizens. It's time to wake up. I'm not saying that everybody needs to fight. I'm wanting to secede peacefully. I do not care if I take anybody with me. I am seceding myself and myself alone. I am going to consider that being the lumber snack, born in wood land, is sacred promise. And I'm going to claim religious freedom to separate from this fascist state that our founding fathers warned us about, that Joseph Smith warned us about, that has been warned about for so long, and we need to leave. So from this point forward, I am appointed as king and ruler of the kingdom of Snack, founded in and around Cascadia. Now, I don't at all make any attempt to say that the kingdom of Snack is the land. No, the kingdom of Snack goes where I go. The kingdom of Snack is always beneath my feet and inside me. The kingdom of Snack is what's going to take Western America and make it the global superpower. And now, my Declaration of Independence. In my room, January 9th, 2026. The unanimous declaration of the Kingdom of Snack, when in the course of human events it becomes necessary for one people to dissolve the political bands which have connected them with one another, and to assume among the powers of the earth the separate and equal station to which the laws of nature and of nature's God entitle them. A decent respect to the opinions of mankind requires that they should declare the causes which impel them to the separation. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. That to secure these rights, governments are instituted among men, deriving their just powers from the consent of the governed. That whenever any form of government becomes destructive on these ends, it is the right of the people to alter or abolish it, and to institute new government, laying its foundation on such principles and organizing its powers in such form as to them shall seem most likely to affect their safety and happiness. Prudence indeed will dictate that governments long established should not be changed for light and transient causes. And accordingly all experience hath shewn that mankind are more disposed to suffer while evils are insufferable, than to right themselves by abolishing the forms to which they are accustomed. But when a long train of abuses and usurpations, pursuing invariably the same object, evinces a design to reduce them under absolute despotism, it is their right, it is their duty to throw off such government and to provide new guards for their future security. Such has been the patient sufferance of the kingdom of Snack so far, and so many Americans who may be inclined to join the kingdom of Snack, which of course the kingdom of Snack doesn't, I don't care what people believe, but the dominant religion is Normanism. So, if you want, it's a pretty good faith. I'm not going to charge you anything. I'm not going to make you go to church. In fact, I kind of think that people need to go outside and in nature more and just experience the trees and the birds and the animals. And maybe if people went into the nature more and existed amongst nature, they would realize how truly insignificantly small we are. How we're just one drop in the puddle of human existence. How we just exist in a cosmic void of swell. The history of the present president of America is a history of repeated injuries and usurpations, all having in direct object the establishment of an absolute tyranny over these states. To prove this, let facts be submitted to a candid world. He has refused his assent to laws, the most wholesome and necessary for the public good. He has forbidden his governors to pass laws of immediate and pressing importance, unless suspended in their operation till his assent should be obtained. And when so suspended, he has utterly neglected to attend them. He has refused to pass other laws for the accommodation of large districts of people unless those people would relinquish the rights of representation in the legislature, a right inestimable to them and formidable to tyrants only. He has called together legislative bodies at places unusual, uncomfortable, and distant from the depository of the public records for the sole purpose of fatiguing them into compliance with his measures. He has dissolved representative houses repeatedly for opposing with manly firmness his invasions on the rights of the people. He has refused for a long time after such disillusions to cause others to be elected, whereby the legislative powers incapable of annihilation have returned to the people at large for their exercise, the state remaining, in the meantime, exposed to all the dangers of invasion from without and convulsions within. He has endeavored to prevent the population of these states for that purpose, obstructing laws for naturalization of foreigners, refusing to pass others to encourage their migrations hither, and raising the conditions of the new appropriations of lands. He has obstructed the administration of justice by refusing his assent to laws for establishing judiciary powers. He has made judges dependent on his will alone for the tenure of their offices and the amount and payment of their salaries. He has erected a multitude of new offices and sent hither swarms of officers to harass our people and eat out their substance. He has kept among us, in times of peace, standing armies, without the consent of our legislatures. He has effected to render the military independent of and superior to the civil power. He has combined with others to subject us to a jurisdiction foreign to our Constitution and unacknowledged by our laws, giving his assent to their acts of pretended legislation for quartering large bodies of armed troops among us, for protecting them by a mock trial from punishment for any murders which they should commit on the inhabitants of these states. J.D. Vance literally said that it's okay for ICE to do that. J.D. Vance is a smug, pathetic, weak-willed baby boy who clings to power by proxy. If Donald Trump goes, J.D. Vance will go down as the weakest, most pathetic president in history, on par with President Buchanan, the 15th president. Now, granted, President Buchanan did grant slaves their freedoms. He used federal funds to pay for slavery's, going away, but, he also really struggled to hold the Union together when they were seceding, sort of like what's going on right now and why I'm declaring my independence from these losers in the White House. I want to establish that my Washington is better than their Washington. For cutting off our trade with all parts of the world, for imposing taxes on us without our consent, for depriving us in many cases of the benefits of trial by jury, for transporting us beyond seas to be tried for pretended offenses, for abolishing the free system of English laws in a neighboring province, establishing therein an arbitrary government, and enlarging the boundaries so as to render it at once an example and fit instrument for introducing the same absolute rule into these colonies, for taking away our charters, abolishing our most valuable laws, and altering fundamentally the forms of our governments, for suspending our own legislatures and declaring themselves invested with power to legislate for us in all cases whatsoever. He has abdicated government here by declaring us out of his protection and waging war against us. He has plundered our seas, ravaged our coasts, burnt our towns, and destroyed the lives of our people. He is at this time transporting large armies of foreign mercenaries to complete the works of death, desolation, and tyranny, already begun with circumstances of cruelty and perfidy scarcely paralleled in the most barbarous ages, and totally unworthy the head of a civilized nation. He has constrained our fellow citizens taken captive on the high seas to bear arms against their country, to become the executioners of their friends and brethren, or to fall themselves by their hands. He has excited domestic insurrections amongst us, and has endeavored to bring on the inhabitants of our frontiers the merciless Indian savages whose known rule of warfare is an undistinguished destruction of all ages, sexes, and conditions. In every stage of these oppressions, we have petitioned for redress. In the most humble terms, our repeated petitions have been answered only by repeated injury. A prince whose character is thus marked by every act which may define a tyrant is unfit to be the ruler of a free people. Nor have we been wanting in attentions to our British brethren. We have warned them from time to time of attempts by their legislature to extend an unwarrantable jurisdiction over us. We have reminded them of the circumstances of our emigration and settlement here. We have appealed to their native justice and magnanimity, and we have conjured them by the ties of our common kindred to disavow these usurpations, which would inevitably interrupt our connections and correspondence. They too have been deaf to the voice of justice and consanguinity. We must therefore acquiesce in the necessity which denounces our separation and hold them as we hold the rest of mankind, enemies in war, in peace friends. We therefore, the representations, I the representative and king of the kingdom of Snack, in general, my thoughts assembled, appealing to me, myself, and I, the only one that matters in this specific scenario, restitude of our intentions do in the name and by authority of the good people of the West America, namely Cascadia for me, and Deseret for the ones in the South. Solemnly publish and declare that this kingdom of Snack and of right ought to be free and independent from that jack-off in office. I didn't vote for him. That they are absolved from all allegiances to that douchebag and his Israeli buddies. And all political connection between them, I guess Zionist more than anything. I can actually, if you genuinely believe the teachings of Joseph Smith, you genuinely believe the teachings in his articles of faith, or at least the bulk of it, you can literally be as anti-Zionist as you want. Like, you can say Israel does not have a right to exist in the Middle East because God literally told Joseph Smith that it was his people's religion was going to establish New Zion and New Jerusalem in Independence, Missouri. And I believe that that's going to happen. I would like to make that happen in a future peace offering between the Kingdom of Snack and Eastern America. Whatever you guys want to call yourself. You can go back to being the Confederacy if you want. Just, burn down your own people and your own livelihood. You'll eventually get to a state where you've been shunned and shut out of every civilized region, all the way down closer to Florida, where you're just subject to the extreme weather conditions that can be present until the oil industry and coal production's effects on global warming have sunk Florida in its entirety, in which you will have no home. And that all political connection between them is and that as free and independent as the Kingdom of Snack is, I have full power to levy war, conclude peace, contract alliances, establish commerce, and to do all other acts and things which independent states may of right do. And for the support of this declaration, with a firm reliance on the protection of divine providence, which is what I am claiming for my kingdom, is divine providence that I can back up with so many religious texts, namely the book of Daniel, and visions God gave to Moses. I really can. I pledge my life, my fortune, and my sacred honor to establish a truly free Western America from the East Coast, from whatever's going on that side, because they are bought, they are controlled. These are the kind of people that our forefathers warned us about. And it's time for Western America to realize. It's time for Cascadia, specifically, my home, my land, my nation, to be realized as free and separate in order to establish and keep the bounds and bonds of liberty for all men. Because what's going on the east side, it's only going to get worse. Donald Trump has effectively pissed off every nation that we don't want to piss off. And it's our job on the West Coast to recognize that and separate us from the East Coast. This needs to happen. Listen, you know which people I'm speaking to? The Normans, not just that, the Northern men. My people. The really cool ones. You remember when Pete Hegseth said that he didn't want you guys in his elite military force because that alcoholic, adultering fornicator thinks you're fat, you're shaved, you're not his perfect mold for a perfect soldier, as if the Vikings aren't the perfect soldier, as if the freaking North Europeans aren't the best Europeans, first and foremost. Absolutely. They typically do the best. Britain kind of freaking sucks. But like Ireland, Norway, I think one of the Norwegian countries is very Zionistic, and I'm upset by that, but I'm sure they'll come around. But someone needs to do something about those jack-offs in office. Someone needs to stand up for the rights of the everyday American. Somebody needs to stand up for the sanctity of separation of church and state. Because this is a nation built on immigrants. This is a nation built and promoted to be an area where all foreigners can come and seek freedom, seek peace, and seek a livelihood. And there is no group that has betrayed the founding values of America like Donald Trump and his posse. And I tell you what, anyone's welcome to come with me. Just start announcing that you secede from the East Coast and eventually they'll give in. Trust me. They don't want to deal with it. Actually, if I'm being completely honest, the MAGA elite would probably love to have Western America separate because that's so many more Republican votes that they can keep to keep their, narcissistic police state going. As far as I'm concerned, they've crossed a very deep, profound line. They have shown that they do not understand the teachings of Christ and yet take his name in vain. And it's about time that they realize exactly how powerless they are to the one true God. May Allah bless Western America. May Allah bless the world. May God's presence always be in your life, and may you find the light that he's given to you. And I say these things in the name of all that is holy. I wish you all good luck in your endeavors. And may you go forth in pursuance of truth and righteousness.